Kristen. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me again.
No problem.
So, just to bring us up to speed on this engagement, I want to go back and make sure that we're aligned on what your goals are. So what I captured from last time is that you're currently working in a not-for-profit, and you're a little bit frustrated by the politics. You're also frustrated by the level of pay, as well as the number of hours you must work and not be compensated for those hours because you're a salaried employee.
Correct.
Is that correct?
It is.
Is there anything I've missed in that assessment or in that goal statement?
No, not at all. The only thing that I might add is that part of the frustration stems from the fact that what I'm paid is comparable to that same job within other not-for-profit organizations. So
Okay.
Sticking with the not-for-profit kind of is going to...
So when you look at, but in the research you've done, it's a very common salary level for not-for-profits.
It is.
Because they don't pay as much as a for-profit company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. So after we talked last time, I did assign you some assessments to do. I think actually we went through those assessments together the way I remember it. And the first assessment we did was an interest survey from a website called mynextmove.org. And it was a 60-question survey looking at interest within 6 categories. And those categories were social, enterprising, realistic, investigative, artistic, and conventional. And the clear top 2 emerged in your survey results. And those were social and enterprising. And so when you read through the definition, social really means you want to really contribute to society, make the world a better place, which is a very admirable trait.
Okay.
And also enterprising, which makes you, you're very much a self-starter, and you're not the kind of person that would enjoy being micromanaged. You want to manage your own processes and move it forward in the way you want to move it forward. Would you say that's an accurate assessment?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Now, when you were thinking of the other categories like realistic, investigative, artistic, and conventional, are there any of those others that you think should have come out higher?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I do have some traits that would probably fall into those categories, but I wouldn't use those as primary descriptors for myself.
Okay. Thank you. And then we did another assessment. So this one was really more about the kind of work styles you had. The next one we did was a career temperament report. And what this came out indicating is that you're very much a guardian. And as you read through the definition of guardian, what that means is it's somebody that is very focused on the integrity of processes and services within a given organization, and tends to get very frustrated when those processes and services are compromised from their original intent.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's an accurate assessment?
Yes.
And perhaps a reason for some of your frustration?
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, I know recently at work we had something rolled out, and I had to have a conference call with my boss where I had to sit and I had to call out the ethics of some of the practices that were being issued to me as something I needed to do. And it got to the point where my boss just kind of had to step back and say, you know what, Kristen, you've got a higher integrity than most, so we obviously can't require you to do something that compromises your integrity. So, I mean, it has come out very blatantly at work that way, yeah.
So you feel like, well, how do you feel about that reaction to that?
I had to kind of step back and laugh because the fact that it was being asked initially, and for me to call it out and just say, okay, Kristen, you won't do this, but we're still going to have everybody else do it.
Right.
It was kind of frustrating because maybe we should reevaluate the way we're doing things if there is ethical question.
Yeah, it's not that we admire your ethics and thank you for keeping us from making a mistake. It's, well, yeah, if you're going to be that way, that's fine. But we're going to be this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can understand that's an extremely frustrating situation. Very common in big companies as well, as you can imagine, because you've heard me, I'm sure, talk about some of my frustrations. So what I wanted to do today, that's just kind of background of what we've done so far. What I'd like to do today is talk about your current and past positions. And in particular, have you tell me some stories or talk about things that give me a better indication of what your abilities and competencies are. So the first thing I'd ask is, if you go back to your past jobs, what do you think are some things that come easier to you than others that you work with, certain tasks?
Specifically sales and one-on-one interactions with other people.
Okay.
I've had a lot of sales type positions in the past, working on commission, working just in retail, and in the past jobs I've been able to sell anything to anybody. It's very easy.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think that is? What do you do differently than others that you observe?
I think I'm very realistic about what the benefits of the products available or services available are. So if somebody's going to come in and say, hey, I want to buy a TV, for example. I used to sell TVs. Which one's going to work best for me? And I'm not going to go directly for the most expensive one that's going to get me the best commission, because I'm going to be straightforward with them and tell them, you know what, you could get this one, here are the benefits of it, but in your price range for what you're going to use it for, I really think this one's going to be better. And I think the fact that I'm very straightforward, I'm very honest with them throughout the process. I am a good listener, so I am able to take and process what they say their needs are to get them what works best. So, and I mean, that's translated a lot of different ways. Working for a nonprofit, I mean, I'm a recruiter, so I basically am in sales right now. I'm selling you my organization. Additionally, I'm good at training. So background as a teacher. So, I mean, that kind of comes across. And it's the same thing as sales, honestly, is sitting one-on-one, listening to what someone's struggling with, what they need help with, and then just giving them every imaginable resource that I could possibly offer to them, in addition to offering follow-up. So when you struggle with this, give me a call or use X, Y, and Z references that I've given you already.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others that come to mind?
I think I'm a strong leader. I think that I'm good at delegating responsibility, asking for other people's input, and figuring out what's going to work best for everybody, as well as what's going to have the best outcome.
So you use a very participative leadership style.
Mm-hmm.
And that really works. So now I'd like to reverse that question. Now think about your past positions and think about something that, some work that you don't like or is a lot harder for you or harder for you to focus on.
That's a tough one. I mean, I can just kind of shut up and do whatever needs to be done, which has helped me a lot. But like it kind of came out, I don't like to be micromanaged. So if I'm being given a task where I can't see what the direct benefit to anyone of that task is, it's going to be a struggle for me to do it, and it's going to be a struggle for me to prioritize it. A lot of menial tasks, I'm not opposed to like manual labor. I've worked in warehouses before, but if I can delegate that to somebody else who's going to appreciate that time to get up and move more, then I'm going to do that.
Great. Okay, so like routine work would be very frustrating. Anything that's highly repetitive, standard work.
Yep.
Might be very frustrating.
I like things to be
Or
more...
being told exactly how to do something.
Yeah, that bugs me.
Okay. As you've thought about what field you might go into, what industry, can you give me some of your feelings on that? For example, are you focused on not-for-profit, more social organizations, or would you be interested in something in industry?
I think my heart's in nonprofits. So looking at where I'm at now, I'm only just barely a step above entry level there. And
Okay.
if I could move myself up in the ranks and have more of a supervisory position, I think I'd be a lot happier, even if that did mean, more hours. But the assumption would be that a more representative pay would go along with that. I joke with my supervisor and I tell her I'm going to be the CEO of Girl Scouts one day. So they know exactly what my mentality is. But if something were to come up, supervisory or training or, implementing new processes for a corporate organization, then I think I would have to really seriously consider something along those lines.
Okay. But if you had your dream job, so if you could look 20 years ahead,
I'd be CEO of Girl Scouts.
So it's so rare for me. I do a lot of career counseling. It's so rare to come across somebody that has such a clear understanding of what their dream job is. So I really admire that. So what do you think it'll take to get there?
I've gone back and forth because I don't have any higher education past a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
So I've considered the fact that I might need to look at going back to school to get a master's in nonprofit management, business, something along those lines, which I'm not opposed to doing if somebody can tell me concretely this will further your career.
Okay.
But at this point, I don't know that that is necessarily the case. So it feels like it might just be a waiting game until, the right person retires or steps down, or we change things around and reorganize to the point where a new supervisory position opens up. So it feels like a waiting game, which is frustrating for me just because I like to be able to see myself moving forward, but I don't think that's a realistic expectation right now.
Are you able to get any educational assistance through the Girl Scouts?
Not that I'm aware of.
They don't have a program for that. So I can understand the risk you're looking at. However, I would normally advise people that as they think about that dream job, you might as well put that education you need in your plan. Now, granted, it's not been that long since you got out of school, so you may not want to go back yet. Okay. So I think this helps. What my next step will be is to do some research. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going on some of the sources that I have and look at salaries in various social organizations doing the kinds of things you do. So I'll look at management salaries as well as the entry level or the recruiting type job salaries, as well as some comparable things in industry. And then we can get back together in a week or so, and I can go over that information with you. And we can talk about what next steps you might take. In the meantime, I would advise you to think a lot about that concept of when the right time to go back to school would be. I personally believe it's a very sound thought to think if you want to move up in an organization, any organization, to get a management degree, Master's of Business Administration for not-for-profit, for example, could be an ideal credential to get behind you. And then, so the things to think about are there are actually ways to get college credit for your past work.
Oh, okay.
And I can do some research on that as well.
That'd be great.
Through the Center for Adult Education and Learning. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no
Good to
problem.
talk to you again.
Thanks for your help.
Thank you.